friends, welcome back to a new video. Today I'm really excited because I'm going to be kind of just taking some time to sit down, chat with you guys more casually, not so much in a vlog style video, to just kind of do a Lent review, kind of a Lent wrap up, chatting about my perfectly imperfect Lent. And my hopes of this video is just to kind of share with you all my Lent experience and maybe start a conversation as well with you if you're open to sharing how you felt your Lent went and where God was really present throughout the season for you, and also just a chance to chat about like what challenges we faced and the ways that God helped us overcome those challenges. I'm going to be recapping what I did for Lent, my commitments, my resolutions, if you will, and then I'll also be chatting with you guys about some of the challenges that I faced. And then I'm also going to be going over some of the really key, small but meaningful moments where God really came through during this season for me and really helped me to remember, you know, the meaning of this season. And then I'm also going to be reviewing, again, the lessons that I learned throughout this season, things that God taught me, what my resolutions are going forward. Let me jump into what my resolutions were. I committed to making weekly vlogs and making sure they were posted every Monday. I did no Instagram, no Facebook. I cut out all sugary treats, so basically no desserts. I only listened to Christian or Catholic music. I also did the daily Hallow meditation, so they had like this Pray 40 Lent challenge every single day. I also used this little book, Daily Lent Reflections, and then I also did a weekly food donation. So every time I went out into the world to go buy food for home, I also bought something to donate to our local food pantry. I really found myself struggling with a couple key areas. I had a lot of trials with patience, pride, with vanity for sure. Again, could not have really planned for this, but during the season of Lent, a very exciting event happened in my life, and being in the social media world that we're in, I would be naturally drawn to wanting to share this event on social media. And the fact that this wonderful thing happened during Lent and I had given up Instagram and Facebook was a real major test, again, of patience, pride, and vanity. Not being able to put this information out there, right? To share the excitement with other people, having to really just take time and process that on my own and with my close friends and family, which was truly a gift though, because sometimes I feel like we do get caught up in wanting to tell everybody and their uncle who we're not even that close with about this good news, when really we could be using that time to focus on the event, the thing itself, with the people that are really close with us. So anyways, that was a really nice little challenge for me, and a really nice way for me to grow though, you know, and to be able to kind of put those desires aside. Certainly was not easy, but I am really grateful that it happened during Lent for sure, so they could help me to kind of put my priorities where they really should be. Also, I can definitely say that there were many moments of imperfection in the sense of falling into kind of negativity or complaining, right? Just in those little moments when I realized that like, oh, I can't have this chocolate on a Friday or any day when I would really like it, right? And like kind of letting myself, allowing myself to kind of fall into that, right? Rather than turning that around and saying, no, like this is a beautiful thing. It's a sacrifice for Jesus, right? And so there were definitely times when I fell into that, absolutely. And just, again, just kind of being like, oh, you know, those darn feelings of like, darn, like why did I give up this thing, right? In moments of temptation. Were you guys tempted to, and how did you navigate the temptations? Because certainly I fell into putting my energy where I shouldn't have, when I should have been focusing on speaking less, you know, like keeping those thoughts in, and rather than complaining or saying things like, oh, I can't wait until Lent is over and I can, you know, use Instagram, or I can listen to the secular song, right? Instead of leaning into that, I could have kept those thoughts in and shifted my focus towards Jesus and his passion and his resurrection. I also definitely found myself getting distracted a lot. There were a couple days this Lent when I completely missed my daily Hallow Lent challenge. Like I just literally got caught up in my day, forgot to do it. And then the next day I would do like two, you know, I'd double up, or I would forget about my little Lent book. There were a couple of days that I absolutely did not even read, right? So that definitely did happen, where again, just the distractions of life kind of got in the way. And I tried to, again, just have patience with myself and turn to Jesus and ask for his assistance and his aid. Another thing that popped up, and again, I don't really know 100%, maybe you guys have some insight into this, how we should go about this. The idea of like eat what is provided came up for me. So for example, right, I gave up sweets and desserts and whatnot, and like I mentioned, there was a very exciting event that happened in my life. Basically, sweets were provided for me, right, as a sort of congratulations, right, we want to celebrate, let's have this together. And it was one of those moments where I really had to battle internally, right, and really figure out how to respond, right? Is it really more charitable? Is it really what is best to say, oh, sorry, I can't eat that, I gave it up for Lent, thanks but no thanks type of approach? Or is it one of those moments where self-denial is actually maybe best and more charitable, not with the intention of foregoing Lent commitments, right, but with the intention of eat what is provided, right? If someone gives you this out of love and out of care, accept it and not make a big scene out of it. So that was a challenge, and I wasn't totally sure how I was supposed to go about that. Ultimately, I ended up taking the approach of thank you, not making a big deal out of it, and just eating what was provided and not, you know, indulging in that, right? Just having what was provided, but not, you know, getting more, if that makes sense. And then also making sure to not fall into continuing to go against my Lent commitment, like from that moment onward. So again, I'm not like a theologian. I don't really know the ins and outs of if that was the right thing to do, but I'm just being totally transparent that that was a challenge that I faced. Let me know what you guys think about that, and also what would you have done? And yeah, if you have insight, feel free to let me know. But ultimately, you know, I think that all these obstacles and challenges I face really targeted my patience, my pride, and my vanity. And so ultimately, it was such a humbling experience, right? All these challenges that came up really humbled me, because it made me realize that I don't have all the answers, right? That I am definitely not perfect at navigating Lent, that I am a little human who sometimes forgets things, who sometimes gets distracted, who sometimes can lose sight of the big picture, right? Or yeah, kind of puts things in the wrong order as far as priorities. Like that is a thing that happens, and is very, like I said, humbling, and just reminded me of how little I am in the grand scheme of eternity, and the fact that God still loves me despite my shortcomings this Lent is quite beautiful, and it really was eye-opening for me. Very humbling Lent in a great, wonderful way. I will say, as far as like really pivotal, meaningful moments this Lent, one of them that I mentioned in one of my vlogs was going to adoration and sitting in front of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, and really having this moment of realization, like, oh my goodness, you know, again, going back to priorities, where are my priorities? Why is it so hard for me to dedicate a chunk of time like sitting in front of Jesus, but it's so easy for me to spend a lot of time with people in my life, right? And my number one relationship that is going to ultimately impact the fruit in my other relationships is the one I have with Jesus. And so trying to figure out how to implement more of that time with him, specifically like in a chapel, in a church, whether it's in front of the tabernacle or having him exposed in the Eucharist, but being able to incorporate more of that time with him just really was a realization that I had, that I need to do more of that. So that was really, really amazing and a really pivotal part of Lent. Another one was actually watching a video posted by the Divine Mercy Shrine. One of the priests there posted a video. I actually really didn't watch many videos this Lent, which usually I do from Catholic creators, but I really didn't, except for this one that was again posted by a priest at the Divine Mercy Shrine, and it was all about Lent's main purpose, and ultimately he talked about humility and how during Lent we are really meant to grow in humility and humble ourselves. Watching that video was also really, really impactful on me, and I think has shaped the way that I've been able to perceive my shortcomings and the challenges I faced this Lent. So that was really amazing too. And I will link that video in the description for you. As far as the actual commitments themselves, I definitely know that I want to continue a couple things, change some other things, and add some other things. I'm going to be continuing with weekly videos. I know that this video is going up a little bit later than usual. Thank you guys so much for understanding. I know I put out a little post about this, but I really wanted to dedicate the Triduum, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday to just focusing on God and focusing on Jesus's passion, death, and resurrection. So thank you guys so much for understanding that this video would be a little bit later this week just because of that. I also really am planning to continue with those weekly food donations because that is something that is so simple, but it really goes a long way, and I certainly feel like I need to be doing more of that almsgiving and that those charitable works, especially for the poor and for those in need. So I really want to keep up with that. Definitely as far as things I want to change, I will be re-downloading Instagram and Facebook. I want to be more mindful of how I use them. There's actually this app that I have seen a lot of fruit come from that I've recommended to my clients before, which is basically like an app blocker. So it's this really cool app that really puts up these obstacles you have to really work through in order to gain access to different apps, and you can choose what those apps are and what time of day you want to have restricted access. So I do want to be able to use social media less because I did definitely notice the fruit of that. I felt so much more free mentally, and also like I could be more present to people in my life and to my work. So I want to get into that, and maybe even just using social media like once a week. One day, like Saturday for example, is like my day that I have access to social media. I don't know, TBD on that, but I definitely want to pull back the reins on my access to those two apps. I also think, you know, being off of sugar, again, there's so many spiritual benefits to all of these things that I did, but also physical benefits, the mental benefits, it's all connected. Reducing sugar I think was really helpful, gave me a lot of energy. I was so much more energized, I slept way better, just overall felt better in my body but also in my mind as well, and so that was really impactful. So I think maybe just like limiting treats to weekends might be the way to go. Again, TBD on that, but I'm definitely planning to rein that in a little more. Cutting out secular music was also really huge. I always find that whenever I do a secular music detox, I feel so much closer to God, and I feel like I actually have time and space and peace and quiet to be with him and talk with him. So I really want to be very mindful of my secular music intake. And maybe that will be something kind of like the apps of just on Saturdays, right? Just Saturdays, that's when I might allow myself to listen to secular music or something like that, TBD. But definitely, I mean, you just can't deny the benefits and the fruits of cutting out a lot of these things. So I want to not allow myself to fall back into going full throttle into doing some of this stuff. And as far as what I want to add and incorporate that wasn't a part of my Lent commitments, like I had mentioned, I really want to spend more time with Jesus in front of the Blessed Sacrament. So I really want to look at my schedule and figure out like and prioritize when I will spend time with him, right? So incorporating a holy hour. I think I'm leaning towards doing a holy hour monthly. I think that's a good place to start for me. And then hopefully build up to like every other week and then eventually to weekly. So I really am going to be trying to incorporate that as well. One little bonus thing that I'll throw in here that I just was kind of thinking of that was really a powerful takeaway from this Lent as well, that no prayer to Jesus, no prayer to our Father is too small or insignificant in his eyes. So that was a big thing for me this Lent, just because it was new. You know, I was balancing, like I mentioned, like this full-time work with Lent, and usually I would have a bit more time to dedicate to longer, more extensive periods of prayer, and there wasn't as much of that this Lent, which again is something that I definitely could have worked on myself and made time, right? So that's a whole separate thing. But there were a lot more moments this Lent of me just kind of in the small moments throughout my day, in between clients, or, you know, in between like the transition of work to family life, in those little moments, or even on my drives, I would find myself just in small little moments lifting my heart up to God and kind of asking for these little things, these little prayers, or just thanking him in little moments. And I found that was so impactful and just really, again, humbling to realize that my prayers don't need to be these big, long, extensive prayers, which is great when I have the time for that, but it's also just as impactful and beautiful to be able to express myself to him, to talk to him in those small, even like 5-second spurts throughout the day. It's really powerful. And those little prayers, right? Those little requests, like, God, please help me get through this day. I'm tired and I don't know how I'm going to be present to the people in my life. And just a little prayer like that can turn a whole day around. So no prayer was too small, no prayer is insignificant to God. That was a huge takeaway, absolutely. It's just a great Lent. It was exactly what God needed it to be, and I have so many things that I have walked away with as lessons and kind of like data to move forward that can help me to grow in my faith with God and to kind of see where my priorities need to shift and grow. So I hope that you guys had a beautiful Lent as well, and I again encourage you to please comment down below where we can just chat a little bit about how your Lent went, what challenges you face and how you're able to overcome those, and then also, you know, the ways that God showed up in your life, some of the lessons that you learned, and maybe what you're committing to changing or adding moving forward. It was just really a beautiful experience being able to walk alongside you through my Lent vlogs that I was doing. So really fun to get to know you guys a little bit more. I look forward to getting to know you even more as we continue along this journey of life together. I hope you had a blessed Easter. I hope that you've been able to really set some time aside to pray and to be with Jesus and reflect on the mystery of his incredible love for you specifically. I just hope you've been able to have that time. If you haven't, maybe today's the day, or tomorrow's the day. So at some point, maybe it's coming soon. I pray that that's the case. Thank you guys for journeying with me, and I will see you in my next vlog, which is going to be an exciting one, I will say, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. So I'll see you there, and have an amazing day. All right, take care.